Minnesota Vikings were relatively active in the first week of free agency. Active in both kind of who they let go, who they kept, and yes, who they... It was just rough seeing a couple of guys like Eric Kendricks and Adam Thielen walk, but at the end of the day, we'll get into it in our latest 2023 Minnesota Vikings free agency recap. And for those of you that watched the Arizona Cardinals video, you already know, yes, it's just business. So just a recap. Yes, I know that some of you want to come off and play it off and saying that you weren't thinking about monsters versus aliens, but come on. You were. But so today, we're going to go ahead and start by talking about what the Vikings lost, what they got, and who they kept. So far, right now, according to SpotRack, they are just over $9 million over the cap. But I really think that the Vikings are going to be okay. I mean, Rob Brzezinski, like they just always continue to take care of business. I'm not worried about it. So we're going to go ahead and see how this all pans out and how all of it goes, because I do think that there's some interesting things that are going to go on here later on this week with that too. So right off the bat, who did you lose? Defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson. Yes, he signed a 4-year, $57 million deal with the Browns over, $27 million in guarantees. Last year for the Vikings, he had 42 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and a 77.1 PFF grade. It is a loss, but at the end of the day, I do think that Dean Lowry, who we'll get into in just a second, I think we'll be able to kind of hopefully, help out with losing Dalvin Tomlinson, because it is a loss. 29 years old, I still think he's going to be a guy that you can go you can go after, and he's going to be able to produce for you. But overall, yes, it is loss losing. It's tough losing a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson, but I wish him nothing but the best. I'm happy he can go ahead and go grab that bag. Then you also lose Patrick Peterson to the Steelers. Signed a 2-year, $14 million deal with Pittsburgh. I know I forgot to put a parenthesis there. I apologize. I didn't put a parenthesis for 3 spots. Good Lord, Colton, drink your coffee. Anyway, so yes, he did go to the Steelers. Last year, he had over 60 tackles for the Vikings and 5 interceptions, including a couple in key spots that led to big-time wins like against the Buffalo Bills. But then, yes, he finished overall with an 80.7 PFF grade, and you're excited to see that. And then also, yes, you did cut Adam Thielen, who signed a 3-year, $25 million deal with the Panthers, including $10 million in his first year, but it is what it is there. Last year, he had 70 catches for 716 yards and 6 touchdowns. Then for Eric Kendricks, also cut by the Vikings, he signed a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Chargers, had over 130 tackles for the Vikings. I mean, just those two, Adam Thielen and Eric Kendricks, it's tough seeing those two guys go. But Eric Kendricks, I felt like, I was a little shocked that they kept Eric Kendricks and restructured a guy like Jordan Hicks, but we'll get into that in just a second. But overall, is going to go there and return home and play for the Chargers. A little bit of a loss there, but I think Brian Asamoah can pick up the slack. And then here we go with the addition. So you bring in Byron Murphy Jr. I know it says it's a 2-year, $22 million deal, but in reality, when you look at the deal, it's more like a 2-year, like $17.5 million deal. So I think it's definitely a bargain and a great price to bring in a very good corner for the Vikings. And yes, I do think it was fantastic. And definitely kudos needs to go to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and company. Last year for the Cardinals, he had 36 tackles, 2 interceptions, 4 passes defensed or pass breakups, if you will. Also had a 66.7 PFF grade. And then tight end Josh Oliver, who you brought in from the Ravens, like, okay, when it broke that you signed a blocking tight end for a 3-year, $21 million deal, was a little shocking. But overall, with what you saw, what he had in the receiving game, or the passing game, 14 catches, 149 yards, and 2 touchdowns, I think that's a reason to be excited, because having him and Hawk on the field at the same time could be definitely very fun. Having the best blocking tight end and clearing the way for Alexander Madison and company, yeah, gonna be fun, gonna be a lot of fun. And then defensive end Marcus Davenport, who's coming over from the Saints, he signed a 1-year, $13 million deal, but that's actually also not 100% true. It's only like $5 million down this year, and then I'm not great at math, $5 million this year and like 7 or 8 due next year over the next couple of years, So really his cap hit isn't that big for this year, so it's definitely a really good deal and a bargain price for the Vikings, who get a guy that might be able to put up double-digit sacks in the right system. So but for the Saints last year, he had 29 tackles, half a sack, half a star. I got to stab somebody to get my rep up. Yes, I know it's from The Longest Yard, but had half a sack last year, as well as a 76.8 PFF grade. It is what it is. And then finally, yes, Dean Lowry, who we mentioned a little bit ago from the Packers, signed a 2-year, $8.5 million deal, had 43 tackles for the Packers last year, also had half a sack and a 59.3 PFF grade. Like, I still think Dalvin Tomlinson is the better player, but getting that kind of a player in Dean Lowry for that kind of a price, it definitely is, you're pretty happy about that one. And I think that the Vikings, with that, and especially with who they brought back, yeah, I definitely think they're in a really good spot heading into the draft. But here we go talking about who they brought back. So, yes, they re-signed center Garrett Bradbury to a 3-year, $15 $0.75 million contract. Last year, he played over 800 snaps for the Vikings, only had 4 penalties and only allowed 2 sacks, but he had a 70.2 PFF grade, really took a step forward after the Vikings declined his 5th-year option. So I think he has definitely found himself a home in Minnesota. Hopefully, he can keep that running and get things rolling here with the Vikings for years to come. And then, yes, they signed backup quarterback Nick Mullins to a 2-year, $4 million deal last year, and kind of coming in for Kirk Cousins during bad games. Not going to mention which ones. Had over 220 passing yards as well as a touchdown and an interception. But I think this is a fantastic deal for bringing in a fantastic backup quarterback. And you can go from there. And then also, yes, you re-sign Alexander Mattison to a 2-year deal worth $8 million, who had over 300 all-purpose yards last year and 3 touchdowns. So I think he is definitely going to be a player that is going to benefit a lot from getting re-signed. I mean, we could be talking about Dalvin Cook being moved, so we'll see what happens with that deal. But then, yes, you re-sign tackle Oli Udoh to a 1-year, $2.5 million, $8 deal. Last year, he played 132 snaps specifically against the Packers and the Giants and the Bears towards the end of the season last year. Only had 1 penalty, no sacks. Not a single one. Also had a 73.6 PFF grade. I think he is going to be a fantastic backup tackle for the Vikings and continue to be that for a long time. And then, yes, you re-signed Austin Schlutman, I believe that's how you say it. 1-year deal, 236 snaps last year, 2 penalties, only allowed 1 sack, and a 48.7 PFF grade. Partridge in a pear tree. You guys get the drift. Fantastic backup piece. You overall love it. Then Greg Joseph coming back for the Vikings on a 1-year deal worth $2 million. Yes, 26 of 33 on field goals, 40 of 46 on extra points. Did have a problem with that, but he was nails, absolutely nails against the Giants, hitting that 61-yarder. I think it was like week 16, week 17 to be able to get them that big time win. Then, yes, they re-signed long snapper Andrew DePaula to a 3-year, $4.025 million deal. All I could put is a stud. Like literally all Pro Bowl guy at long snapper. You love to see it. Then you re-sign defensive and outside linebacker Kenny Willekes, who in my mind actually played well when given the opportunity, so I love to see it. It's only $870,000 deal. He was on IR for, I believe, all of last season, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, you re-sign the last of the re-signings for Ben Ellefson. Oh, by the way, yes, they lost Cameron Dantzler. That saved him a couple $1 million there. I did forget to mention that. But yes, Ben Ellefson coming up on a $1.01 million contract, was injured for a lot of the season last year on and off IR, but it is what it is. 3 catches, 26 yards in 4 games. And then, yes, you also restructure Kirk Cousins' contract. It's kind of a, kind of kicking the can down the road here, if you will. Overall, I mean, yes, Kirk Cousins is that dude. It frees up $16 million in cap space. You restructure Harrison Smith's deal from making what was it, $14 million to $19 million based off incentives, and now he's going to make more like $8 million. So definitely getting some savings there with $6.7 million. You restructure Jordan Hicks's contract, which frees up $1.5 million. And then finally, yes, you restructure Chris Reed's deal, which frees up about $1 million. So yes, all in all, you do bring back a lot of key pieces, a lot of guys that were big parts of your locker room last year, and you really love to see it. But yes, you did come away with a couple of losses. Guys like Delvin Tomlinson, Patrick Peterson, Adam Thielen, Eric Kendricks, Cameron Dantzler, who I think, honestly, if you re-sign Duke Shelley, it will be fine. But that is it for the first week of free agency period for the Minnesota Vikings in 2023. Let us know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. Let us know what you guys think. You can also give us a listen and sub on iTunes. And finally, if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com or put in the comment section down below, and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about our 2023 Minnesota Vikings free agency recap.